Hello and welcome to the Jank Tank, a weekly series where I build questionable decks and throw them against the constructed ladder. This is my first full week in M21, and it's quite a format. My experience so far has been that all of my opponent's spells are extremely good. So when I've built some fair-ish decks that are trying to actively disrupt the enemy with like discard and attrition, it really hasn't worked. The summary of M21 standards so far has been Uro gets you too much life and Ugin ends the game. Ugin kind of makes anything that I do irrelevant if they get to cast him. So we are playing a control-y deck. I did not want the game to go too long, so it has aggro, and we've put in a healthy dose of counter spells to kind of close out the end game. This is kind of the Simic flash deck that I expected to do well. I want to build some more janky stuff with the set, but I haven't figured out the format enough to make it work yet. It seems a little bit slow, so we might be able to get some sweet combos going later, but there's a lot of strong control magic and ramp, so we'll see. I haven't quite figured it out yet enough to build something interesting, so this is just kind of a bog standard Simic flash. We've got the classic Night Pack Ambusher as our main threat for this deck. And then we've got a host of other flashy creatures. Frilled Mystic, when it comes in, you counter a spell for 4 mana. We've got Spectral Sailor, it's just a 1/1 flyer that has a mana sink to draw a card that's going to be very useful for us. We've got Brineborn Cutthroats, which will get bigger as the game progresses because we've got a lot of counter spells. So if we can stick this early and protect it, that can be a game plan. And Brazen Borrowers. I really like Brazen Borrower for the flash deck because it lets you make mistakes and let things through. Or maybe not a mistake, but if they land a spell, you can let a spell of theirs resolve in order to get down like a Night Pack Ambusher on your turn, and then bounce it with a Brazen Borrower. It gives you a lot more flexibility and helps deal with the fact that you can't always have counterspell mana up, especially if you want to play out some threats. So Brazen Borrower is dual function. It's a good beat stick, and it helps fix problems that leak through. For counterspells, we've got Rewind, counter a spell and untap up to 4 lands. This deck runs into a lot of counterspell wars, and this can help you counter something and get something else countered as well. Let's say they've got 2 spells that they want to resolve. You can rewind the first one and then Frilled Mystic the second one, or Mystic Dispute. So that's part of it. It also allows you to counter their spell and then drop a Night Pack Ambusher, which can just kind of end the game when you get that extra turn in, or draw a card off of Spectral Sailor. So Rewind lets you take your turn as well as cancel their turn. Very, very strong tempo tool. We've got Mystical Dispute. Blue is quite strong right now, and this deck runs into trouble when the opponent staves up a counterspell of their own. Rewind is not very good against counterspells because you want that extra mana, but if they're going to counter Rewind, then you get nothing. We have Sublime Epiphany. This card seems too good to not put in this deck. I haven't had a chance to cast it yet, though. In my games testing it, I haven't really gotten to the point where I've drawn and needed Sublime Epiphany. But counters a spell, returns a permanent of theirs to their owner's hand, copies one of our creatures if we have one, like a Brazen Borrower, Night Pack Ambusher to beat down with, and draws a card. It just does a whole lot, good use of 6 mana, and it can also target activated or triggered abilities. So if they are doing like an Ugin activation, you can let that through and then counter it. And then I threw in, I don't know if this deck really wants discontinuity, but it's too fun not to try out. 6 mana end of the turn. Can be used on your turn if they do something you don't like if you're playing against another flash deck. They try to resolve something on your end step, you can counter it for 2 mana. Or on their turn, during their upkeep, you can pay 6 and just take another turn. We've also got Growth Spiral just to help get the mana advantage in and draw some cards. And then on the lands, pretty even split, a little bit more blue than green because a lot of our important spells are blue. In fact, I kind of want to drop 1 forest for another island here. Castle Vantress, very good use of our mana. If we rewind, we can also Castle Vantress usually. It takes 1 more mana, so we'll have to be on 5 lands to rewind and then Castle Vantress, but that'll give us some more scry. And in a counter-heavy deck like this, we really do need that scry. If our hand is empty, then that is a point of vulnerability. And no matter what you do to your opponent's hand or how you prepare, this is a format where they can just peel Ugin off the top and get right back in the game. So you can't really afford to even let them go into top deck mode without having some sort of answer in your hand, I've found. Alright, so let's let me grab another island. Okay, and let's see how we do. Cleaned out my deck lists. So yeah, this is the only deck that I've built that really has a lot of game against a variety of decks. I think it's very weak against aggression. The typical red aggro decks are going to have a good time beating our face. But against these, like the Uro ramp, it should have a lot stronger of a time. This is a pretty slow start. I've seen a lot of this mono white life gain too, if that's what we're looking at. Yep. That's not good for us, but we can deal with it. Brazen Borrower is very good against Pride Mates, I've found. Alright. I think our deck had just too slow of a start. We got a Cutthroat though, so depending on what they do this turn, we can start getting on the board. Our Cutthroat can grow pretty fast. Yeah, I don't want to deal with another Pride Mate. 1 is enough. It might already be too late if we don't start getting some serious value going on. Yeah, I think we've lost. Going second is pretty rough in this format, from what I've seen. That's pretty cool. Griffin Airy, I like that. Whenever they gain 3 or more life, they get a token. Alright, so we've got to chump block with the Cutthroat, and yeah. Yep, alright, we can concede. Bad start. This deck does need lands to work, and we did not draw very many. But also we just didn't have anything to answer Pride Mate. Getting in underneath us is a little difficult, but it can happen. And that's it's difficult for this deck to deal with. It really needs a Brazen Borrowers. It doesn't have any board wipes, so if you lose control early on, then it can do that. I really don't like this hand. Opponent goes first. I'm gonna keep it. If we can draw a forest, we can get back in here. We got a Spectral Sailor, so that's not gonna do a whole lot against this sort of ramp. No forest. No attack. We're not gonna win by pinging with the Sailor. I'll just make sure they don't swing with the Paradise Druid. So I can bounce the Paradise Druid to their hand. I think I'm just going to save it for whatever they play. This is probably going to be like a Nissa. Oh, we get some red. Okay, so it's a Temur Reclamation. Wilderness Reclamation expands Explosion deck. He's trying to decide if he can... Oh, okay, Plane Wide. He's just going to create a bunch of tokens. I think that's okay. Let's go ahead and bounce one. Stuck on lands. Alright. We'll take 6. You probably could swing with the druids too. But I imagine those druids represent damage from an explosion. Alright. He is aware that I don't have counter spells. Okay, we're gonna concede. Hard to play Magic if you don't draw lands. I don't think I want Paradise Druids for this deck, though. I think it's only the growth spirals that'll work for me. Okay, this could be good. Could be terrible if we don't draw lands. I have confidence that we will top deck enough lands to win this game. The real question is, do we play Breeding Pool untapped for Mystical Dispute? I don't think so if he's going Alseid. Okay. He's thinking about whether or not he wants to swing. So, this turn we Growth Spiral, next turn we Night Pack Ambusher. It's probably going to be too late though, thanks to that Pride Mate. However, we might just be able to chump block it for forever. Alright, let's see what happens. Probably should have countered it. If I had tried to trade with the Pride Mate right there, he could have given it protection, and I would have just lost my Ambusher. So now I've got chump blockers. He's got a mobilized district as well. Alright, we're definitely not letting that resolve. That would be the end of this game. I played that wrong. I should have Brianborn Cutthroated and Mystical Disputed instead. 3/3 Frilled Mystic is not good enough for that. We'll slowly grow an army of wolves. So the trick here is that if he has another 2-cost spell, I'm letting it resolve. If I had gone for the rewinds, then we would not have let our guard down. But I wanted to get the Brianborn up. So we'll see what happens now. I have to be careful because he can give his Pride Mate protection from green, and that would let him get a pretty good attack in. Brianborn could still chump block, but I'd really like to not do that for obvious reasons. Alright, so we are one away from a Sublime Epiphany. That is going to be very good on a board like this. we're still not in a position to be able to attack, however. It is our turn. Spectral Sailor should help close this out as well. That's going to be extra cards every turn, which will help us find a land quickly. Another mobilized district. Not very good right now. Gideon Blackblade. Alright, so we will rewind that. Unfortunately, this Mystical Dispute is not very good anymore. He's gotten to the point where he can play his stuff and pay for the Mystical Dispute mana. Let us untap our lands, and we shall see if he goes for another spell. He does. That's unfortunate for him. Let's get our Mystical Dispute in. Alright, well, we don't have a counter spell now. So, depends on what he drew. We might be able to fish for one with the Growth Spiral. Okay. Let me see what we can draw here. A Brazen Borrower. Okay, I like how that looks. We'll see what he has. Oh, I did not want this block. That's... oh well. That's too bad. I'm losing the Spectral Sailor. I guess I drag-clicked it. Oh, I'm not losing it. Okay, he's gonna save his Pridemate. That's cool. So I can just knock the Pridemate back to his hand and get in for 7, 14, yeah, okay. I'm not going to finish counting, I'm pretty sure this is going to end the game. Especially if we draw a land, we can just discontinuity on his turn. Alright, we're done. Okay, there's lethal. A little bit dicey, but Nightpack Ambusher is an insane card. I don't really like playing these decks that just counter everything the opponent does, but I don't feel like I have a choice. I feel like if you're not playing strong control, you're going to get run over by a lot of other things. Speaking of getting run over, though, this hand is going to get run over. This is, I'm going to keep it because we've got our colors and some good stuff with the 4s, but I really need a Brineborn Cutthroat to make this work out. This deck might be poorly constructed. I don't know. I think all 3 of these are key, but our forge slots do feel a little crowded. There's our 4th land. We still need a green to play the Nightpack Ambusher, but and the Frilled Mystic, but we've got counter spells. Alright, depending on what he mutates, we could be in trouble. I don't have counterspell magic up yet. Oh, interesting. That's gonna hurt a lot. I would really love a forest. If we can get a forest, I think we'll have this game. If I don't get a forest, this is going to be extremely dangerous. Forest, alright. This is what we want to see. So the clear play here is rewind Nightpack Ambusher. You got it. I don't care about a healer with a blade. Even though that does hurt. That's pretty sweet. Bolting me like that. Okay, well, so this could end poorly if he has 2 mana removal, which is very possible. This could be a Heartless Act right here. But if it's not, then we're good. Oh, we untapped. Alright. We get some chump blockers. We've got the counter spells. I think we can take back this game now. Sure. Alright, what you playing? He plays nothing. If it's nothing, then I do nothing. So I could have played the Borrower there, but I'm worried that he has counter spells. This should be a safe attack. I've got the Sublime Epiphany if anything bad happens. Alright, let's start getting in the damages. Double Sublime Epiphany is going to mean that everything he does for the rest of this game is irrelevant. I choose not to. Alright, so we're going to counter a spell, we're going to return, we're going to get an extra night pack. Alright, so I believe the permanent we're targeting is theirs. Creature we control, target a player, get that value. And then we untap, and just get rid of that. That's the good games. Gross. Sublime Epiphany is quite gross in a situation like that. I don't think this deck is actually set up to take advantage of Sublime Epiphany that often. Having a creature to copy in play doesn't happen that much, and having them have stuff in play is a situation I actively try and avoid, because once it's on the board I can't do a lot about it. There's not a lot of bounce except for the Epiphany. So usually I will not try and let them have anything on the board, but it helps help stabilize, I guess. Bounce a thing when you finally get to 6 mana. Got our colors. Growth Spiral. Yeah. This looks okay. Ooh, test against our red. Not going to go well for us. Growth Spiral is probably going to be nice though, getting an extra mana. Cavalcade. I don't like that. Alright, Spectral Sailor, you're our only hope. Save in case he has something hasty. I don't think there's a lot of hasty things being played right now. Okay, forces him to use his mana. Cool. I could just bounce it. I would rather go with Spiral, I think. Okay. Did not get the forest, so that is a sad frilled mystic. I'm thinking, I think I want to bounce the Cavalcade. I don't know how this is set up. If I pass 2 attackers, then he gets to attack, right? I want to go to combat. I think I was supposed to cast it there. So I want to bounce the 10 Street Dodger after we go to combat, so he can't just replay it and attack with it. But I think he gets the opportunity to attack now, is how that works. Yep, okay. Well. No blocks. Getting a little low. But we'll return the Cavalcade. More island. So we'll rewind whatever he plays here. If he goes for the Cavalcade, yeah, we'll just rewind it. If I were him and I had burn, I would kill the Spectral Sailor right now. These decks might not be running burn though. They're very dense on creatures because they want the Cavalcade stuff. Alright. I'm thinking about jumping for the 1 here, but it seems bad. Let me just draw and see what I get. Sublime. Alright. Well, I guess this is our game plan, is to Sublime Epiphany. And yeah, I know I missed the breeding pool. I didn't want to pay the 2 life. We're gonna Sublime Epiphany his Fervent Champ. No, I guess his 10 Street Dodger? Oh no. Get to return something to his hand, get another copy of our Spectral Sailor, and the Spectral Sailor will be able to double block then. Huh. Nope, we're not having any of that. Alright, target non-land permanent. We're going to bounce that. We're going to get another Spectral Sailor, and we'll draw a card. Get out of here, Torbran. We don't have time for that. Let's see if he swings. He does. I will happily exchange one of these guys, my man. Okay, now I'm still worried about stuff that's hasty. So this dodger is still a real problem to us, so I've got to rewind his one drop here. Bone Crusher, Bone Crusher. Yeah, I think that's a rewind. That way he doesn't get his creature as well. Okay. I'm really not that attached to the Spectral Sailor. Oh, got a 1/1. I don't like that. Guess we're gonna Sublime Epiphany. So if I Sublime Epiphany, he gets to swing in for... Could just Frilled Mystic it. We'll Sublime. I'll go for it. Alright, target non-land permanent. Goodbye Dwarf. Get an extra Brazen Borrower. I draw a card. So unfortunately, we're going to be taking one every turn now. I've got to kill him in... not very many turns. Alright, goodbye Lava Coil. Oh, maybe he'll attack. Swing. Yeah. We top decked the card we needed. Still a little precarious. We've got 7 life versus an aggro deck. Nope, we're gonna counter that. Yeah, I'll take action. Alright, and there's a Chandra.
I'm happy as a hellion to start some fires. Go get 'em, buddies.
Okay. Spending a whole Chandra just to get 1 point of damage in doesn't seem that great. Oh yeah.
Maybe I'm not cut out to be a monk.
Alright. Yep, there we go. Close, but we managed to navigate it. Brineborn Cutthroats would have been appreciated. They would have eaten Lava Coils, of course, so maybe it was a good thing we didn't draw those. He seemed hesitant to use them on Spectral Sailors for a while. Oh, this looks really good. I like it. Got an Ugin avatar. Which planeswalker is this? Is this Mu Yanling? Is that Narset? Is this a... No, this wouldn't be Narset. Alright, so we've got some color things. Oh, I've seen an eggs deck like this before. I forget how it worked though. But having all these artifacts is pretty important if I recall. Let's get in for a damage. Oh, he does have blue. I was gonna say our mystical disputes have been a very poor call so far. Anything would have been better than mystical dispute. Straight up cancel, but all right. I like some gross spiraling. It's a little late for gross spiral. Turn 2 is really where I want to cast it. Do I care about his mana? I don't think I do. I've got counter spells. Alright, so we've got the Rewind Night Pack Ambusher this turn. So even if he has a nasty 6-drop, we should be okay. Still got a couple mana to work with here that could still do something I don't like. Alright, now he doesn't. Power of Rewind is basically taking an extra turn. It's exceedingly gross. Well, we didn't get the extra land for Sublime Epiphany fun times. Or Discontinuity fun times. But I'm sure we'll get there. Yeah, you can have an Othakaya. Yep. So I wonder if this is just to sack to his GM Foretold. Still not a land. However, he's going to have to wipe the board. You know what? That's fine. Oh, he doesn't have anything. What if I just counter it? Like, I win, right? Okay. Yeah. This deck just didn't seem to gel. I think losing the Palladium Mirror on that attack was really painful for him. That put him very far behind on mana. If your opponent has open lands, be cautious of attacking into it. There's a lot of strong instant speed stuff right now. I like Doom Foretold as a card, though. One of the decks I was working on was running it, but it was risky to play. This looks pretty good. I've got double green and blue. So this Frilled Mystic will be online as soon as I get a land. I've got Brindborn Cutthroats. I don't know, I've got a mill. Alright. Oh, there's cards I wanted. Thanks. Maybe we'll get another Growth Spiral? Maybe not. Maybe that's not in the cards. I'm going to play this now in case he wants to Mystical Dispute me. No surprise, it's a Brindborn. I wasn't going to block with it, so just run it out. Frantic Inventory, okay. I like it. It's a good card. No attacks. We'll pretend we have counter spells. We definitely don't. Oh man. I would have preferred he didn't have that. Maybe we'll draw some Mystical Disputes though, and that'll be good. Or a land. I'll just take a land. Land would be good. Land would get us there. Yep. Oh, it's my land. And a Night Pack Ambusher. Would have appreciated it. You gonna swing? No. Oh, we did it. It's gonna be everything that we hoped for. Yeah, we got the chump block. We're gonna mill 2 more. Alright, we're not gonna have that. Ooh, that was dangerous of me. If he had a Mystic Dispute, that would have been very bad. Alright, we're in pretty good shape now. Rewind means that we get to draw a card off a Spectral Sailor or counter another spell. We just need to not to be able to. Yeah, we're gonna rewind that. Alright, we got it. I did try a mill deck like this. It's pretty strong, but it was very similar to the mill decks that I was playing at the early Eldraine format. I was like, this is a boring mill deck that just bounces all my opponent's stuff to their hand. Not very exciting to show. The Shrines deck also very boring. It's just board wipes and shrines, and the shrines are all creature control, so they knew what they were doing to make it a good deck. It's just, I wouldn't say it's too good, it's just non-interactive. A good deck means your opponent doesn't get to play, as we are proving. Alright, so our opponent could have Mystic Dispute, so I'm going to see if they'll play something on their turn. I would like to resolve this Brineborn. I'm gonna try it. Mystic Dispute or Quench. I haven't seen Quench in a long time. I think Quench has fallen out of favor because of all the ramp that's going around Growth Spiral plus Uro. Oh, it resolves. Okay. Let's see if we run into a Spectral Sailor of our own. Okay. His own Brineborn. Very well. I would love another island right now. He's got black. Is he gonna play removal? Oh, let's see if this flies. He's gonna have to counter. Oh, okay. I was gonna say he's gonna have to counter on his turn if he wants to counter this. These decks run counter magic all the time, so kind of surprised that this went through. Oh, he's got something. Alright, it goes back to my hands. Let's see if we can get in for some more damage. Okay. Doesn't have Death Touch. We'll go for this again. I wonder if he's playing Rewind. It's a strong card. There's the Mystical Dispute. Sweet. We did a thing. Still slightly ahead on the damage. Yeah. We're gonna bounce this cut through it to reset it. Oh, I didn't know he was a rogue. Cool. That's gonna be annoying. I think we lost this one just by virtue of not having lands. So I could not attack, or I could attack. He's gonna play the brazen, or the Night Bonder. Okay. That's pretty good. That means that I can't counter any of this stuff now. And I'll play this right now. Yeah. Nice. It's weird that he doesn't play that on my turn. He needs to pump his Brineborn Cutthroat. I need some forests. He's sitting on counter spells, so this is a kind of a lost game. Well... I'll just concede. Them getting, what, Menace, I think it is? Plus 3/2 for both of them is too strong for me to be able to deal with. I think we could have been fine if I had another forest, but that's not how that worked. Maybe I should up the land count. Most of our games we've lost just from not having lands. I'm usually pretty steadfast on 24 lands. I've seen people go up to like 28. I think it's crazy, but this could be a good argument for 26. So you get hands like this. Alright. Go ahead and play the Cutthroat. I'll just put it in tapped. So probably going to be Brazen Borrowing his stuff right now. Just put the Destiny Spinner back in his hand. Okay, and hope that our Brineborn doesn't just get melted. It probably will. But if it does, Brazen Borrower is a good stand-in for putting on the aggro. That's okay. Cinder Vines. Cast non-creature, it deals one damage. Oh, it's not a creature. I thought it was a 2/2 for some reason. Well, our other Brazen Borrower is going to be pretty good if he's trying to haste out something big. Really use another land, though. So I could get lucky with Growth Spiral, draw a land, and put it into play. Okay. So he's probably going to try and make it fight. Oh, nope. Add some mana. I don't feel like I need to bounce anything, so... Yeah, we'll take some damage from the Cinder Vines. I think we're okay. Oh, man. Oh, we got the land. That's amazing. So... We'll swing can double block if he wants, and we'll get a free kill. Yeah, I took some more damage. Although, to be honest, I probably should have just sat back with the Night Pack Ambusher.
Hear me again. Nothing disgusts me more than law and order.
You wanna go, tough guy? This is just gonna be bad for you.
Okay, so it's card advantage. Whenever one or more are removed, deals to an opponent or a planeswalker. Okay, so we're in peril from her. Interesting. I feel okay with this line of play. You can, okay. Yeah, that's okay. We have a combat trick? Sure. We'll rewind that. Yeah, why would I not? That's weird that it prompted me. Oh, because I can't counter it. All spells can't be countered. Okay, whatever. I'll live. Night Pack Ambusher will make everything okay.
Sit back and watch it burn.
Oh, Perforos. That's scary. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 7 damage. Okay. Oh, he doesn't give himself haste. Alright. Or Omen. Need some more mana. These Sublime Epiphanies are really good, but not at 4 lands. More Cindervines. See if he swigs with Perforos. Alright, he didn't, so I need to play the Borrower if I want to kill. I mean, he can get 7 cards off the top. I'm gonna risk it. As long as he doesn't Storm's Wrath, I'll be good. Plus, if he minuses right now, Perforos dies. Although he might just be able to play more Chandra. Alright, get those wolves. There's a lot of wolves. Alright, he goes for it. Oh, he gets the boost. Okay, nice. He gets a 7 right away. That's cool.
It's you burning.
Embercleave's nice. Clothis. Oh, he's got plenty of devotion from the altar. Cool. You can go for it now? Alright, so he's got plenty of mana to Embercleave. Embercleave on either of them is lethal. If I had one more mana, this would be an entirely different story. Let us see what we draw. Yeah, it's probably a mistake. Alright, didn't need that. Oh, he's going to tell us the answer. Alright, so we've got 16 to block here. I think we gotta block something like this. Can I afford not to block with one of the wolves? So I've got 12, 17... No. 13. So I'll take 5, get on a 3. Oh, it's probably more because I... Oh, okay. Alright, so Sublime Epiphany will get me killed, basically. That's not gonna stop me. Alright, so my plan... Oh, never mind. I can't cast anything now. Okay. Yeah, we lose. I forgot that I was gonna take 2 from Clothis. The Cindervines ended up killing me. Alright, so should I put in more land? Let's run one more game instead, since we're coming up on that hour point, and look at land when we're done. Not convinced by this hand. Almost didn't Mystical Dispute that. Get out of here, Electromancer. Alright. See if he wants to counter Micro Spiral. Nope, we got it. Ghost, Spectral Sailor. Oh, we even got the land. We got the Rewind Night Pack Ambusher, so looking good. I don't really care about that. So this looks like Counterspell to me, which is why I'm not going for the Ambusher. Had I been thinking I would have rewound that Heck Ambusher to Slaying Fire, it would have been a clearly superior play. This worked okay though. I've got 4 damage back on board. Oh, I am happy to play the Counterspell game, man. You're gonna have to make a move. No. I think that's okay. Let's go for this. a-okay. I am gonna go here. This puts my guard down, but I'd like the card. Maybe he'll burn something. He's thinking about what to burn. Oh. Cool. Obviously I shouldn't have done that, but I think it's okay. I think we can still come back from this. His cards are running low. He is scrying, but we're almost at the point where we can Sublime Epiphany. I'll block here and draw. Ooh, that mystical dispute is super helpful. It's gonna break the mana parity here, so when he goes to cast a spell, I'll be able to counter it and counter his counter spell. Of course, now he doesn't need to cast a spell. We are getting killed. Let's see if we can get this resolved. Oh, yeah, okay. Forgot, Mystical Dispute does not just counter a spell. Well, feels really bad, but I think we've got to... draw a card and bounce this guy. Oops. Okay. So we'll bounce his Electromancer since he's obviously sitting on some stuff, and then Frilled Mystic what he attempts to counterspell with. I'm concerned here that he has enough to kill me just from an explosion. He's got 1 mana shy of killing me with an explosion. So if I try and counter this, just go with Rewind. Alright, we got it. Trying to get Brazen Borrower out. I don't like taking 2 here. If he doesn't have Mystical Dispute, this will work well. Oops. Alright, he didn't counter it. Cool. So he gets to resolve the Sphinx of Foresight. Or we're tapped out, so we can just go for an expansion here. Chemisters. Oh, okay. I was hoping he wasn't going to have the other land. So we're going to have to block the Sphinx of Foresight here, which means using Frilled Mystic to protect it. But we've got 2 Cutthroats. So... I literally need these to resolve. If he counters the Frilled Mystic, then we're done. Yeah, we'll take action. Okay, looks good. Yes. Oops, what? Oh, we did it. Okay. Jeez. What a tense game. I am very bad at the counterspell game, which is why I don't tend to play it very much. As you saw there were a couple points where I would have been much better served just countering his spell instead of waiting for something better. But I always try and hold off, because I always regret it when I use my removal and counterspells too early. I end up petering out, not being able to finish out the game. But in this case, getting that Electromancer down really helped him push aggression and counter, gave him some mana efficiency. His counter spells became much cheaper. Had I just countered the Electromancer, he would not have had a counter spell on for the following turn. So, note for playing this deck, probably best just to counter something if you have the opportunity. Don't try and be too fancy. So, adding one or two more lands. I don't know what I would cut. Probably these Mystical Disputes. They were a little iffy. Put them back in if you're running into a lot of counterspell stuff. We didn't run into a whole lot of ramp this time, did we? Didn't see any Ugins. It's been mostly my experience, though, as Ugin. Alright, so for the sideboard, some things that you can consider for the deck. Hypnotic Sprite is basically a slower Frilled Mystic. It will give you a body and a counterspell. I would strongly consider it if you were playing against aggression decks, a mono red sort of thing, or the like white Pride main decks. Throw in Hypnotic Sprite instead of Growth Spiral. As long as you can deal with their early stuff, then you'll be okay. You don't need to rush out to like a 6 mana curve or anything like that for those sort of aggressive decks. Growth Spiral is very important against Uro style decks where you need to get to a certain breakpoint of mana before they're playing Nissa. You have to be able to counter Nissa, and so that's important. Whereas aggression, you kind of just want to be able to counter the early stuff with Hypnotic Sprite instead. Plus, Growth Spiral is mainly there so that you can Growth Spiral, put down an island Mystical Dispute. You don't lose any tempo that way. It's like a rampant growth that comes in untapped. It's very nice. So yeah, Hypnotic Sprite's going to be great for aggression. You get a creature that can trade with one of their guys and counter another of their guy. Mystic Subdual is a flash option if you are also having trouble with stuff resolving before you can get your counter spells up. This not only staves off aggression by weakening their creatures, it will shut down special abilities. So things that are pesky, it'll just get rid of. Don't even have to worry about it. Throw it on like an Alseid so that they can't use the protection ability anymore, that sort of thing. Deny the Divine if you're running into a ton of Uro. I don't like this over other counter spells because it doesn't hit Planeswalkers, and I think that's very important for this deck. And it also doesn't protect your own creatures unless it's Banishing Light. It's not going to protect you from direct damage, instants, and sorceries. So it's too narrow for what I like, but it does deal with Kroxa and Uro. Once they're countered, they won't be coming back. So actually, instead of Deny, you might want to run Ashiok's Erasure, because that deals with those as well, as long as you can keep it in play. Midnight Clock is a fun one that'll help reset your hand later. You can take out Discontinuity or Sublime Epiphanies for it. And the reason I say that is because this helps you in the end game, and Sublime Epiphany and Discontinuity are the extra punch to help end game as well. So they serve basically the same role or cost function. Midnight Clock, though, is going to eat up your extra mana from rewinds or not needing to counter things, and will refill your hand once it's done. So that's really nice. Being able to get a brand new grip of counter spells is going to help seal the deal and get the game done in your favor. Plus, it ramps you mana, so that's always nice too. It'll help you hit the mana marks that you're looking for. It also does have some synergy with discontinuity because they will get their upkeep, but they will not get the rest of their turn if you cast it during their upkeep. So discontinuity will help fast forward the midnight clock some more. So that's also a pretty good synergy there. So probably wouldn't take out discontinuity. I would drop a couple Sublime Epiphanies for it, I think. Or if you don't need the Growth Spirals, you can do Growth Spiral as well. But I like Growth Spiral, even though we didn't get a lot of good use out of it. I think adding in 2 more lands will make Growth Spiral work a lot better. Being able to get to 4 mana on turn 3 for this deck is crazy. As you can see, we're loaded on the 4 drops. They're all very potent, and you want to be playing those as soon as possible. If you want more creatures, maybe you don't like the Spectral Sailors or the Brineborn Cutthroats, Sea Dash Octopus is a good source of card advantage, and it's flashy. So you can cast it flexibly and get a 2/2. If their board's clear, you can just start getting recurring card advantage. This seems like it should be very strong in this deck, so you might consider it in place of Brazen Borrowers, or perhaps probably over the Spectral Sailors, to be honest. They're both forms of card draw, and I like the flash to synergize with the Brineborn Cutthroat, so I would keep the Cutthroat in Sea Dasher instead of the Spectral Sailor. That'll just give you more card advantage against decks that are a little slower. If they are not throwing out creatures everywhere, then you can try and get in for some extra card draw while they're building towards whatever it is they need to be taken care of. You can prepare to counter. So that works pretty well. Teferi seems like he would work well in this deck. I'm not sold on him, but he's strong. The thing I like about Teferi is his -3 phases out a creature, which means that he is able to basically deal with a creature that's in play, and that gives you flexibility with Sublime Epiphany to return that creature to their hand later. By using his -3 to phase out a creature, you build opportunities for yourself to Sublime Epiphany on subsequent turns to return creatures, rather than just countering them. You are letting them go to the board first and then bouncing them later, which gets you more value with Epiphany. I haven't had a chance to play with Teferi a whole lot. He seems really, really good to me, though. In a deck like this, he's going to filter for your counter spells so that you always have what you need to handle the situation. You're not getting extra, Brineborn Cutthroats when you don't need them at the end of the game. You're finding Rewinds or Night Pack Ambushers, that sort of thing. Plus, if they take too long dealing with them, 2 extra turns will basically be the end of the game. So I like him. Obviously, if you're playing against a lot of red in your format, you can try sideboarding Cerulean Drake. But I've kind of started weaning away from that. I don't think it's great. I think this deck has enough early interference to try and keep up with them on a red deck. It's got bounce, it's got counter spells, it's got creatures that can flash into block. Those decks like to play stuff early because they have haste, so they will use all their mana in their first main phase and turn things sideways and hope for the best. So flash deals with their creatures pretty well. So I feel like that's not the threat this deck needs to worry about as much. So I haven't included it in the sideboard. What this deck really has a problem with is the Pride Mate stuff. That grows with your Brineborns a lot faster usually than your Brineborns, and if you can't get to Sublime Epiphany to bounce, then you're in trouble. But yeah, this is a deck basically that I imagined playing when I was looking at the spoilers and saw Sublime Epiphany before the set came out. I was like, this is going to be insanely good, and I think it's pretty good. I think if someone better than me were playing it, it would be very good. It is kind of boring, though. It's fun to counter their stuff and play Night Pack Ambusher afterwards as a rewind, that sort of thing. But it counters all your opponent's stuff, so they don't get to do anything. It's really not my style. I'm going to try to come up with some janky fun times for next week. I think giving another week will give me a chance to kind of lock down how the game plays in the new format, what we can get away with and what we can't. And we'll see what kind of silliness we can come up with for next time. So look forward to some more Sealed on probably Wednesday next week, and I'll be back with something interesting next week. We'll see you then. Bye.